it is 7:10 p.m. Central American Time, so we are going to begin our last Student Senate of this academic year. We will begin now with the roll call. A.C. Welch, Reverend President Becker, Vipa Murphy, VPSA Tombu, Treasurer Ercolani, A.T. Weber, Ace Chair Satchel, Services Coordinator Tibutamwa, Council Chair Christensen, Doc Gumijala, Senator Stallings, Senator Christian, Senator Dorimi, Senator De Vega, I know she's here, Senator Nelson, Senator Kangkyo, Senator Jones, Senator Mendo, Senator Zernig, Senator Nieto, Senator Goldhammer, Senator McDowell, Senator Teaser, Senator Pedro Santa, Senator Collinger, Senator Ebeling, Senator Adhikari, Senator Goswami, Reform Committee Chair Monteforte, T.A. Gould, Aces Coleman, Aces DeRoche, Aces Preston, Green Fund Co-Chair Snodgrass, ISO Delegate No, QPOC Delegate Blackstone, SHIC Delegate Cheslak, SRC Delegate Haddock, JROC Committee Chair Downey, President-elect Logan, VPSA-elect Anand, VPA-elect Wallach, AT Buchanan, Concert Chair Lloyd, and Concert Chair Park. I know. All right, thank you all. Remember, if you just came in late, then please grab your name tag and a clicker if you are voting, and get nice and comfortable with pizza that is in the back. Now we need to vote on the approval of the minutes so that we can get it shapoppin'. So the polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and this is to approve the minutes of the last Student Senate meeting. We're going to cut it off at 30 because we have enough people to get started. Yes, point of what? Okay. Yep, and with all the votes, all those in favor, that passes. We can now begin going to the public comments, announcements, or additional events. It is the last Student Senate, so please remember your decorum so everything can go according to plan. Thank you. Public comments, announcements, and additional events. Treasurer Ercolani needs a microphone.
Just so everyone is aware, we have about 20 separate points to discuss tonight. So the nature of my announcement in the agenda, in the updated agenda that was sent out recently to everyone, is that in the future, we might want to reconsider bringing reforms and appointments and discussion topics and presentations at scattered points throughout the semester, and not have 20 discussion points. And in order to not waste anyone else's any more time, I'm just going to stop talking and let you all read the passage.
Thank you. Any further comments, announcements, and additional events? Vipa Wallach.
Hey everyone, on next Sunday, May 12th, we're going to have a fun event called Grill SGA that will introduce the 2019 to 2020 cabinet. And we're going to be grilling pineapple, s'mores, and what? Corn! Oh my god, that's the one I'm most excited for. Anyway, we're really excited about it, and it's hopefully going to gather people and bring people together, and also help them ask questions and get resources and help us hear about what we want to do next year. So anyway, we can send out another link to the sign up, but we would love if senators could come and be kind of a liaison to help direct students with where they need to go, talk to them about SGA and getting involved. And if someone wants to grill too, you can do that. But it'll be on Sunday from 12 to 2. So also we'd love to see you there and continue to let people know that it's happening. So I just wish. Oh, it's going to be on the commencement stage. There will be big posters around. So yeah, we're hyped.
Thank you. Senator Ebeling.
Hello. Hi. So, Walk is hosting our final pub talk of the semester on Tuesday. We have Professor Steve Andrews coming through to talk about his daughter's transition, along with general transformations, adjusting to change, private and public transitions, transitive pieces of language. I didn't really understand a lot of the stuff he said because I was so fascinated by it that I kind of zoned out. And he's that kind of speaker, so please come through to Lyle's at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, May 7th, and participate. It's always a great conversation.
Thank you. Do we have any others? BPSA elect anon.
So the Grinnellian was this weekend. It was amazing. We used all of the money for food, and it was still less, but thanks for the support. It was great.
Thank you. Anything further? Senator Abeling?
I almost forgot to say this. So just brief update on my Senator project in case anyone wants to ask about this. I've been talking to a bunch of people in charge of things like Deanna Shorb and Jeanette Moser and some trustees, and I really think that the best solution to things like food not being available over spring break is to have a dedicated resource coordinator, either hired through the actual administration or assigned by SGA, and that's something that I'm going to be pursuing in the final weeks of this semester and maybe into next semester too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comments, announcements, or additional events? Seeing none, we can now move on to number 4, which is a report on Green Fund semester in review and future project ideas, led by Green Fund Chair Snodgrass.
Hello, can I get the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Thank you. So I'll keep this quick since I know we have lots to go over, but I just wanted to give a quick update on what Green Fund's been up to this semester and kind of our main projects we've been working on. So the first one that we did, so a big focus of this semester was collaborating with other groups on campus just to make sure that our projects were the most effective and to avoid the duplication of efforts and to make sure that the things we're working on were really going to last within the infrastructure of Grinnell College. So here's a list of some people that we collaborated with this semester. And one of the things that we worked on were the Sustainable Classroom Guidelines, which focused on things like computer use, printing, electronic submission, and also a note-taking program that we have called Read and Write Gold that we thought could reduce printing of PDFs for classes. And we had a meeting with, Dean Latham, and we have another meeting with Executive Council. And then we also, as part of our kind of paper use reduction campaign, we got these stickers that we've been putting on paper towel dispensers, printers, and I think some toilet paper dispensers, but just places that we think people could use a reminder of how to live more sustainably. And then we also have the SGA spending policy that we're going to discuss in a minute. And we had an event called Treasure Trade that was very successful in the Laurel Leaf Lounge. It was basically like a free swap event for clothes, jewelry, all sorts of things that people didn't want and other people did want, and almost all the stuff was picked up. And then we also established a glass recycling program in 4 dorms, I think, and it's been going really well. There's very little contamination and it's reducing waste on campus. And then our biggest project was the industrial composting system. And that's much was by the Big Bin by the JRC. And then also an example of one of the bins on campus. And then here's a long list of our future ideas. Talk to me if you want to talk about any of these, but these are things that are more to come. And then we also always accept proposals from other students. Just email if you fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions regarding this presentation? Seeing none, thank you very much for your hard work this semester. You are saving the planet day by day. We can now, round of applause for all the hard work. It is massively appreciated on this campus. Next, we can move on to agenda item number 5, which is a vote on the approval of the changes to Article V, Section 2, Subsection F of the bylaws funding policies. So we have 4 votes coming up. Let's try and do this efficiently, and I hope everyone read the documents beforehand so that we can move through this pretty quickly. Let's just go with a brief presentation and then move right into voting. Thank you very much. Declan?
Okay, so brief presentation is that this is the same thing we talked about last week. We've clarified some of the language to address concerns about Green Fund having too much power over the spending policy. So now we defer to the Treasurer's Office, and they are kind of the arbiters of what is feasible and what is sustainable, as guided by information provided by Green Fund. So Reform Committee likes this, and I hope you do too, and motion to, actually, I'll wait for questions.
Any comments or questions? Senator Abelin?
Hi, this is directed to the Treasurer's Office. What is this going to add much of an additional logistical or administrative burden?
Yeah, not particularly. This will go hand in hand with some administrative changes that Amanda and I have been discussing for next year. We don't anticipate this being substantially more burdensome than any system would be in order to create a sustainable environment. So, I mean, frankly, this is anticipated a good option for both accomplishing the goal and not adding all that much administrative load or time that it would take to process things. I support it.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Seeing none, Declan, do you have anything to add?
Motion to previous question.
Seconded by Senator Mendel. All right, the polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and this is a vote to make funding guidelines more sustainable. We're looking for 17, so if everyone could please click those clickers again. Just one more time. We're going to close the polls at 30 regardless, so if you want to click twice, please do. If not, the polls are now closed, and with 15 in favor and 1 opposition, that passes. Thank you very much. You can clap. That passes. All right, agenda item number 6, which is a vote on the approval of the changes to Article 2, Section 1, Subsection K of the SGA bylaws, Green Fund Committee. This discussion was led by Green Fund Chair Snodgrass.
Yeah, so this is something else that we talked about in Reform this week, and it's basically items 1 and 2 make a minor change in switching it from having the assistant treasurer serve as the co-chair to serving on the committee as they do on most of the other funding committees, and also changing the second thing to more accurately reflect what Green Fund actually does. And then adding number 3 in accordance with the previous budgetary guidelines.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? All are welcome. Senator Stallings? Seconded by Senator Jones. The polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. This is a vote on Green Fund Committee and the changes to the bylaws. We are looking for 17. 2 more. Please, everyone click your clickers again to make sure that they are working. Everybody. If not, we're going to close it at 25. All right, and with 14 in favor and 1 opposition, that passes. 1 abstention, sorry, not an opposition. Also, guys, please just click on your clickers, and if they're not working, then raise your hand so we can get that figured out. It is important. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 7, which is a vote on the approval of the changes to Article 1, Section 3, Subsection E of the bylaws, Environmental Sustainability Chair. The vote is led by Green Fund Chair Snodgrass.
Okay, so this is basically, it is replacing the Green Fund Chair position, and it's calling it Environmental Sustainability Chair, which is just going to expand its focus beyond Green Fund in addition to chairing Green Fund. I've been doing a lot of other stuff, just meeting with admin people, meeting with the other student environmental groups, and this is just going to institutionalize that and hopefully keep the momentum going for future years.
Thank you. President Becker?
Is that working? No, there you go. Okay. Yeah, no, I super support this. I think this came out of a lengthy discussion out of reform that was kind of brought up by the old resolution I dug up last week. I think SGA needs to fundamentally reevaluate the Green Fund Committee and the co-chair position, as well as, and I put this in my cabinet report, that I think we need to put all positions in Article 1, Section 3 of the bylaws, just to have that clarified and easy. So yeah, so much of this is kind of based around that in our discussion that we had in reform. But I super support this. I think it's a great way to escalate our commitment to sustainability within student government. And I think a great way to further the capacity of the chair in order to produce more sustainable initiatives on campus and kind of push the entire community of the college in that direction. So yeah, I think it's great.
Thank you. Senator Dodymede? Can we get a microphone to Sophie, please?
I like the idea of this position, making it so that you had to run for green chair and then automatically getting like this upgrade to like environmental sustainability chair. Shouldn't this be like, for next year, if this is going to be like a cabinet position and like more hours, shouldn't that have been like a different kind of like job application role?
Yes, sorry, this is not for next year, this is for the following year. And it's not a cabinet position, it's a non-cabinet position.
Okay. Are there any further comments, questions, or concerns? President Becker?
Yeah, so the one thing about this is the other chair positions under non-cabinet positions have a qualification statement, specifically the technical advisors to how the chair is appointed. And I think that's the only thing I have here is that if we're going to add this to the non-cabinet position, this portion of the bylaws that should contain the qualifiers of how it's appointed and whatnot. I don't know. It's in the committee description. Okay, it's in the committee description. I think it'd make more sense to put it here, but that's fine. I'm still fine with this.
Okay, anything more to add? Green Fund Chair Snodgrass?
I'm fine with putting the, like, who appoints them here as well, if that would be better, or instead.
President Becker?
We can put that, I'm fine with this, and then we should put it on the reform agenda for the fall, and they just kind of move that over, and then we'll call it good. I think that sounds fine.
Awesome. Anything more to add? Okay, we are going to move into the voting procedure. The polls are now open. A's in favor, B's opposed, C's abstaining, and this is a vote on the changes to the SGA bylaws regarding the environmental sustainability chair. We are looking for 17. One more, please, let's reach 17 one time on this fine evening, or we can cap it at 25 and go for 16. All right, the polls are now closed, and with everyone in favor, that passes. Thank you all very much. We now are on agenda item 8, which is a vote on the approval of the changes to Article IV, is that 9? 9, all right, Section 2 and 3 of the SGA Constitution in regards to J-Rock. Oh, President Becker? That's all right, let's get a mic and then go for it.
Yeah, so this is a joint reform that was briefly discussed at Reform Committee and was submitted last Sunday by me, Administrative Coordinator Welch, and future Administrative Coordinator Ercolani. This does two things. So one, if you look at the old section of Section 2, it says that we'll review and render a decision on the constitutionality of bylaws, and then several other things. I think there's been a lot of divisiveness on whether the constitutionality element of that clause extends to the remaining 3. I think after reviewing it amongst the 3 of us, it makes more sense for the wording to be reversed such that all this, there's no substance in the first change. It is the same languaging, just changed in order such that it can both render decisions on judicial review as well as oversight, and not just judicial review and oversight, simply so that J-Rock will have the capacity to render decisions on issues unrelated to the Constitution, but in regards to ethics. I know, like, for some of you who were here during the appointment of current cabinet last year, there's the ethics committee that was created. Like, I think this covers that as well. It's just kind of a catch-all for these things, and I think plays into Reese's discussion from last weekend. The second one is a new change. So F is being amended and G is being added. F being the appointment of members moving from the current cabinet appointing them being presented to the Senate, but rather what will be the previous cabinet. And so I think this makes a lot of sense for oversight, that like my cabinet will appoint the JROC chair that will then oversee next year's cabinet, which I think makes a lot of sense. As well as, and then G kind of addresses the issue in the case that the appointment or the appointee does not extend throughout the entire year and rather withdraws before the end of their term, in which case a vacancy needs to be appointed. And we decided to give that a 4/5 approval to Student Senate, which is the strictest approval rate that we give things, simply so that there is like continued sufficient oversight over both cabinet and SGA in general. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Thank you. Any questions? President Becker?
Motion to previous question.
Seconded by Senator Jones. The polls are now open. A's in favor, B's opposed, C's abstaining, and this is for a change to the bylaws regarding, a change to the Constitution, my bad, regarding JROC. Please, everyone vote. We are looking for 17. Smash those clickers. Oh my god, we did it! Yes! And with! Wow, everyone in favor, that passes! Thank you so much! Alright, we now have a brief announcement by Vipa Wolick, who could grab a mic. Thank you very much. It's going to be very quick, but it's very important.
Hello, okay. Sorry, I forgot to say this at the beginning, and I'm really excited about the student representatives on college committees. I posted on Facebook, I'm gonna have Dylan send out a link with that. If you can please send that to your constituents to hopefully motivate them to sign up for committees and sit at the table with like really important faculty and stakeholders and make decisions that way. That would be awesome, thank you.
Senators, put those in your mini minutes. All right, thank you, Vipa Wolick. Now moving on to number 9, it is a confirmation of Claire Pollard as JROC chair for the next academic year. President Becker.
Yeah, so to the last point, this will be the change that we're making, is we're now making the appointment for the next academic year. That as well as the change.
Point of privilege, could you speak more into the mic?
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
That, as well as the amendment we made last week to our mission statement, will go out in a poll to the student body for the 20% rate that we need to reach next week. But this confirmation, I'm really excited about. So this is the second time that SGA has actually held applications for this position. Previously, it's been appointed in a manner without an application. And so we're really excited about that. Dylan and I both think that Claire had an absolutely fantastic application. The way in which she demonstrated her capability to resolve conflict and render objective decisions, I think we found really impressive, and leave her an apt fit for the Judicial Review and Oversight Committee chair, as well as her procedural outline for a potential JROC eligible case. Left us with full confidence that she will do a great job in the coming academic year.
Thank you. We're now going to have a Q&A period with both Miles and Claire. If anyone has any questions, Senator Collinger, please state who you're addressing your question to also so they can know who to answer.
Can I address this to Claire?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I was just wondering, I think this past year, it seems like there was a lot of difficulty with like having the student body actually know that there was this JROC chair and there was somebody that you could go to. What is kind of like your plan to kind of get the word out that like the JROC chair like exists and yeah, kind of that plan.
Yeah, so this is on. Okay. I think I'd probably start by sending out emails because obviously everyone gets those. And then if I notice that people still weren't coming, I think I'd probably try postering things around the school just to try to make sure that everyone could see it, either physically or in their inbox. And also if people felt like it was necessary for me to book hours, I could also do that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Senator Ebeling?
Hello.
Mic's off.
No, it's not. Okay, cool. So one of the issues that we had trouble with last year, as Senator Collinger alluded to, was that students weren't really sure how to even submit things to JROC at all because they didn't know that it existed. And it sounds to me like you're going to be active throughout the semester if you're going to be holding office hours and sending out emails. How are you going to make it streamlined for students to submit their concerns?
I haven't necessarily thought that through yet, but what I could do is I could offer like forms at the bottom of each, like a Google form or something where people could, if they had something specific they wanted to meet with me about, they could write down their concerns and request hours.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? President Becker?
And just to address that point, Senator Aveling, I know we discussed, this was really hot, last week that we would put something on the website. I think that's something that next year's technical advisor and the JROC chair can kind of work together to make it like technologically accessible in addition to Claire's point regarding holding office hours as well.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, Claire, I ask that you exit the room during your confirmation process. And we'll call you back in once the voting is done. Thanks. Okay, last chance. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we are going to vote on this. The polls are open, and this is for the confirmation of Claire Pollard as the JROC chair for the next academic year. Looking for 17. I know we can do it. Just press the clickers. One more. Yes. Oh my God, amazing. And with all those in favor, that passes. So could we get Claire back into the room? Give her a nice round of applause. Congratulations. Thank you all for your engagement. Next, we will move on to a vote on the approval of the changes to Article 1, Section 3, subsections G and H, point 2, reform and student initiatives. President Becker.
Yep, so these are relatively simple changes. As you can see, again, as I mentioned earlier, the reform chair is not listed as a non-cabinet position in the bylaws, and so this is adding their position as well as their qualification statement to, and the way in which they're appointed to that section, just so, I don't know, my goal with the reforms that I'm presenting tonight is make SGA as intuitive as possible. And so it just makes sense that all the positions which we appoint should be listed under non-cabinet appointed positions. If you scroll down, thanks. Yeah, it's a change to the consistency of the. Wait, is this reform? I'm so sorry. Yeah, this reform. Just stating that it consists of the chair, so you don't put the qualification statement in the committee outline, but rather in the position outline. And then effectively it's the same thing for student initiatives. The big thing here is student initiatives and reform chairs are elected within committee currently by the bylaws. This is inconsistent with the way in which we do other committees and inconsistent with the way in which this position is filled anyway. I know at least the last 3 years, not for all of these positions, I know we've done a solid job this year with reform, but for STI Fund, I know the chair this year was appointed just by the execs, so I think this is as well as previous years. And so this is a change just to more reflect the way in which we do things and less the way that our guiding document tells us to do so. I think it just gets us up to date with how these things go, makes us consistent across all our committees. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Senator Jones.
I have a question and a follow-up. One, do we pay the reform chair now? And if we don't, can we add that in here?
So we don't currently. What we do because they're usually sent. Do we play them separate? They're all.
Could we get microphone talk or? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So according to Treasurer Kalani, usually they have been senators in the last years. If they are not, we do pay them.
Thank you. Any further questions? Senator Aveling.
Hello. I have a follow-up question to Senator Jones. How many hours a week do you expect this position to work, and what's their maximum? It sounds like they're going to be active all year round.
Yeah, so I mean, again, this is not a new position, just like reformatting the current position. Traditionally, it has been akin to a senator project in terms of the number of hours, so it just fits within the 6 hours. In a world in which they are not already senators, I imagine that would fall under the Treasurer's office to make the decision for time allocation. If either of them want to speak on it, I'm going to default to Treasurer Kalani.
Treasurer Kalani.
Yeah, it's 4 hours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before we move into the voting procedure?
Motion for these questions.
Seconded by Senator Jones. The polls are now open. Y'all already know what to do. We're looking for 17. Let's see if we can get it in record time. One more. Everyone please vote. Carlos. Okay, I saw you on your phone. All right, bet. 18 seconds, and with all those in favor, that passes. Thank you very much. Now moving on to agenda item 11, which is a vote on the approval of the changes to Article 2, Section 1 of the SGA bylaws, Civic Engagement Committee, led by Services Coordinator Tibetemwa.
Hi guys. Closer than I thought. So this is in line with what Miles was doing. Civic Engagement Committee has been a sort of project of mine, especially with the fall coming up and caucuses are coming, election year. And this is just institutionalizing it. I've also added a lot of flexibility for when they meet. Yeah, do you guys have any questions? I think it'll be easier.
Questions, Senator Avelley. Mike is
Hi. So I was reading over this and I noticed that it seems like power in this committee is vested in the student groups that are part of it, and those student groups are just defined as leaders of a student group that have a civic focus. How is this going to be decided, and how do you make sure that it's impartial? Who gets to be on the committee and have voting power?
So the point of the Civic Engagement Committee isn't to render any like life-changing decisions. They won't. Why we moved power to the groups as opposed to, let's say, SGA members is the decisions they will be making will be sort of minor publicity decisions because, again, they're supposed to be nonpartisan. It's meant to be a space for collaboration, and so when we envision sort of the voting procedure, it's more of is it appropriate for two groups to do an event together? And if a third group feels like that's advantageous in some way, or unfairly advantageous, because they will be like political groups part of it. That's where the sort of voting procedure comes in. It's not for anything that will, yeah, it's not like a budget change. It's more of issues of equity, if that makes any sense. And then determining of the groups, it's supposed to be determined at the beginning of semester. The way I have it envisioned is the next services chair will sort of send out an email. There are certain groups that are more active, but sort of send out a blast. Any group that wants to be on this committee is allowed. So any group. It could be Seoul, it could be ACSU, it could be Campus Dems. We are not limiting it to a particular type of group.
Thank you. That addresses my concerns.
Any other questions or concerns? President Becker?
Really quick, I just want to note how well this is written. This is like one of the best amendments that's not an amendment to something that's already there, that's already been written. I think this just like looks fantastic. I just want to say that.
Period. All right. Anything else to add? Seeing no hands or concerns, we are now going to vote on this. The polls are open. A's in favor, B's opposed, C's abstaining. Thank you, Carlos. Everyone, please click away, smash those buttons, and vote. Okay, we're going to close at 20 seconds. Just looking for one more civically engaged citizen who has failed in their civic duty. Okay, the polls are now closed, and with all those in favor, that passes. Thank you all very much. Now we can move on to number 12, which is a vote on the approval of changes to Article 7, Section 3 of the SGA Constitution, Constitutional Supremacy Clause. President Becker.
Yep, this is a really simple one. I think it'll take us just a moment to vote on this, and I think would resolve a lot of confusion that arose earlier this semester. Essentially, this is in the Constitution, so we'll have to go to a campus-wide vote as well. But just there are two sections in there regarding the nature of the bylaws. This is just an addition that says like the Constitution supersedes the bylaws. That way, like future iterations of the Senate can just. This won't be a discussion point. This is just a fact. I think it's like rather implicit, but we're making it explicit. I'll take any question.
Any questions? President Becker?
Motion for discussion.
Seconded by Senator Pietrasanta. The polls are now open. That was a close race between Declan and Carlos, but Carlos pulled through this one time. All right. Polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. And this is a change to the Constitutional Supremacy Clause. We're going to close at 20. We're looking for 17. Or not, okay. And with 15 in favor and 1 opposed, that passes. Thank you very much. We now are on agenda item number 13, which is a discussion on SGA organizational structure led by Treasurer Okalani.
So we had discussed last time, We had discussed last time the potential of reevaluating the way that our cabinet is structured, and it was brought up again at reform. And I just wanted to, this is just on the agenda so we can discuss how SGA itself, and especially the cabinet, might have its the organizational structure of that might work, and pretty open-ended, to be totally honest. But I think specifically focusing in on the areas of the Green Fund co-chair or the Environmental Sustainability Chair and the Technical Advisor, and whether or not they're deserving of roles on the cabinet or if they should remain non-cabinet paid staff positions.
President Becker?
I think this is something that needs to be addressed. I know this is something I pushed for a lot as technical advisor. There's no real good trajectory or evaluation process for what we determine what voices need to be in cabinet, need to not be in cabinet. So I think that's kind of discussion we need to have, and I think like one of the, I'll talk about this in my, I'll just say this now, I was gonna talk about cabinet report. But just like, I think traditionalism kind of guides this organization, and I'm not so sure that that is the best way to do things, just because that's how we've always done them. And so I think this needs to be added. I think one thing that I put in my cabinet report that's kind of relevant to this is that I think making SGA as intuitive as possible makes sense. So the idea of like within the SGA kind of like organizational structure, having advisors and committee chairs, and then coordinators, and then execs, I think is like the most effective way, such that everyone understands kind of like the flow of things and the way decisions are rendered. And so, yeah, no, that's my 2 cents, but I think this is something that next year should take into consideration as they're evaluating how we do things and what things we do, is that how do we determine what voices need to be present in our cabinet meetings, what voices we need to prioritize in terms of our mission statement in relaying student sentiment, and yeah.
Thank you. Are there any, VPSA Anand?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, I mean, I've been looking at the kind of work that Addie's been doing this semester. Not too sure about Green Fund because I haven't like been as observant about that role, so I'll just speak to TA. I think a lot of the problems you've helped solve and the kind of things you've done have sort of led TA towards something that I would deem a cabinet appropriate role in a lot of ways. And there have been moments where I've wondered why or why that perspective has been missing. So I do think that, and I mean, just some of those things are, I think, good ways to evaluate whether that's a position that that should be a voice that should be heard. I also think that oftentimes the TA can actually do a lot of the work that a DOC is expected to do for some reason. And there's a weird sort of expectation for the DOC to be in charge of websites and upkeep of mainly tech stuff, which it's just strange, and I think if we had TA on CAB, that would sort of appropriate that set of grievances.
Senator Jones? Never mind, Senator Mendel?
So to speak on kind of like the cabinet role or a possible cabinet role of change of the Green Fund position, that's something that we've been talking about in Green Fund. And obviously Rachel can talk more about this, but like seeing the work that she's been doing and going on about this year, we can kind of talk about, but a lot of that's been kind of out of her own like will and stuff like that. And these reforms that we just passed is obviously going to help that become more of an institutional thing, but I think that like if those reforms haven't been implemented, that wasn't necessarily, we can't guarantee that each Green Fund chair or environmental coordinator, I think is what it's called now, will be doing that. but at that level and the work that she's been doing, I think it's worthy of being a cabinet position, and having a cabinet position would allow her or future chairs to have more of an administrative role and have more access to people in administration and thus forth. And I mean, obviously, she can speak more on that, but like, I think we need to implement sustainability being more in a more part of our student government and like in other places. I don't know if you want to speak more on that part.
Grief and Chair Snowgrass?
Okay. Yeah, so just to expand on what Lucas just said, I think that making it a cabinet position would really gain a lot of, so basically I think that a lot of the work that I would like to see done in sustainability should be happening on the admin side and not from the SGA side and not from the student side, but it's really not. So I think just giving the environmental sustainability coordinator more of a chance to push admin on certain things, and especially the purpose of Green Fund has been to create pilot projects with the end goal of getting those pilot projects institutionalized. And there really hasn't been a clear pathway for that to happen until now, and so I think just getting them, the environmental sustainability coordinator into those meetings with President Kington and Angela Voos, and just getting them more face time and more power within SGA to kind of push those things through admin would be really important. And I would also just like to see a greater role in SGA of sustainability.
Thank you. Are there any further contributions to this discussion? I'm sorry, I can't see it. Senator Collinger, sorry.
I think also the STI Fund committee person, they have to, because there are so many different types of student initiatives, you have to reach so many aspects of society, of society. Grinnell's big, deep society, sorry, we're on a time crunch. But I think it would be beneficial, at least like if they're in a cabinet meeting at least like once a week, just like I don't know, institutionalizing that, because like there needs to be better communication between them, because I feel like there was a lot of times problems with like, how are things going? And then like you can't always have every exec at the STI Fund meetings, so yeah.
President Becker?
Yeah, no, and briefly, I completely agree with that. I think several words of wisdom for next cabinet would be just kind of like, thank you, further increase the involvement of voices present at cabinet meetings, you know, to kind of get to gauge student opinions and also to allow that position to work more effectively. I think like cabinet meetings were something that were just like ultra secretive when we were elects, and I think something that's opened up more, but I think like this would be very beneficial to have more voices there. I think specifically, and I'll talk about this in my cabinet report, I think that position requires escalation within our organization. You know, I think like those people who work really diligently, like specifically Senator Collinger, it's difficult without the fundamental and administrative support that our guiding documents would provide in order for that committee and chair to be efficacious. And so I think that's something that will need to be addressed.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything further to add? Okay, seeing none, thank you all for your engagement. We'll now go into agenda item number 14, which is a discussion on the name change of the administrative coordinator position. President Becker.
I'm leading this. So I think that this is something we've kind of been discussing all semester, and I think just like a brief discussion of if we want to see this change or not. I think I've heard the sentiments regarding chief of staff, and it sounds like that those exist. I think the big thing is if we don't like this name change, or if we don't like the name change to chief of staff, or if we don't like this name, where do we go? I think the big thing is in terms of what I mentioned earlier and what I mentioned in the cabinet report, I like kind of the consistent structure of having coordinators being within their place within the SGA organizational structure. And so like I think it fits well there. I think the big thing is my push in this report, and I think like a push that I've made all year, and a push that I hope that future senates and cabinets will maintain, is just making SGA as intuitive as possible. And I think, I know that was something that Dylan had addressed in terms of what does a position entitled the administrative coordinator do? What administration do they coordinate? What is administration? It doesn't strike me as very intuitive, and I think so to more accurately reflect the ways in which we do things, which has been kind of my goal throughout the entire year, I think a name change would be in order, just to make it clearer. I'm open to thoughts on this. I didn't bring this to a vote, but I figured just like if anyone has any alternative ideas that are at least clearer or more concise than what this position does. It kind of enlightens, this role within student government in a way that is like more intuitive to those who aren't necessarily deeply ingrained within our mythos.
All right, well, thank you for your engagement. Yeah, we're gonna move on to the next agenda item, which is, if anyone has anything to add, oh yes, thank you, VPSA-elect Anand, and then Senator De Vega.
I just Googled synonyms for administrative. Okay, organizational, I don't know. Governmental. Executive is cool, I think. Executive coordinator. I don't know if that's but those are just ideas.
I feel like it should be king or queen of the student government organization because they do so much. I'm joking. But no, yeah, I think, sorry, I'm also not supposed to speak, but it's a super important role, and considering the name change is super important. So, yeah, Senator De Vega. Can we get a mic? Thank you very much.
Yeah, so if I recall from the Senate where we last discussed this, we kind of settled on the next actions that would be to come up with synonyms. So I was wondering if any of the people that are leading this came up with any synonyms, and maybe could we hear it out? Yeah.
So that was not clearly my understanding of the way that conversation went. I kind of just dropped it. But it's something that I think needs to change. I think my only issue with synonyms is that I'm not sure that synonyms will lead us to a clear resolution on what this position does. I think executive coordinator I definitely looks better on a resume. I think I like that a lot. I think the only thing is there's some clarification issues then of is it an executive? Is it for just the executives? That's also a good point. But I think that does work in terms of. I like that. I just think I want to make sure that if we're going to take the effort to change this name, that we make it such that it's clear and concise as to what this position does. I think I know some people didn't like chief of staff. I think the big thing there is that we then have a staff coordinating position that would be beneficial in terms of the positions that as we talk about Freesound or as we talk about Chick, there is a touch point there that is not the treasurer's office. The treasurer's office is intended to be the supervision of our financial structure, but I think we need a point for these increasingly involved organizations that are not student organizations.
Thank you. Senator Jones? Can we get the mic to Declan? Thank you.
Okay, so I'm still kind of the idea that administrative coordinator is a broad enough name, and although it's kind of vague, I think does the best job of encompassing all the responsibilities of the position. But I wanted to do a mock vote about who thinks we should change it, if that's a worthwhile thing. A super quick polls open. Sorry, Lana.
Okay, so you won't.
And then after that,
I could. What?
And then after that, we drop it.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
Motion to do a mock vote. Yes, in favor of we should change this name to something else because I don't like administrative coordinator. B, we should keep it. It's fine.
Okay. Seconded by Senator Mendel. The polls are just going to be right on open. This vote is not going to count for anything except it just serving as a benchmark as how we're going to move forward. So A is in favor of changing the name, B is not in favor of changing the name, and C is you are abstaining from changing the name. We are looking for 17. Please click in. We're going to close it at 30 seconds. Okay, the polls are closed and showing by them 9 in favor, 7 opposed. That would have passed. VPSA Anand.
Sorry, quick last thought, just one more suggestion. How about logistics, logistical, something like that?
Do you mind clarifying what that?
Well, for the prefix to coordinator, I guess. I'm still suggesting stuff.
President Becker?
No, because I like or not, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to kind of like move forward with this, like, or just like the constructive nature with which you're approaching this. Like, I like the idea of being able to just like moving forward with potential names. I think the only issue I struggle, because I've done some brainstorming on this, the only issue I struggle is potentially limiting what the position is capable of doing by being more specific in the name, which is kind of like the weird thing, music administrative coordinator is so vague that it's like hard to determine what it does, but then once you say what it does, you're limiting other aspects of what it does. Thank you, Senator Jones, for bringing that to a vote. I think, like, I don't know, this is something that I've been thinking about in terms of like reorganization, so yeah, I appreciate everyone's sentiments on this one.
Also, just keep in mind that this is a discussion and the vote only speaks to the opinions of this semester's Senate, so this will probably become a thing again next semester, so it's just serving as a benchmark. Just want to remind everyone that. Senator Collinger?
A couple weeks ago, Amelia, and our cluster, East and Glengarlaw, we sent out there were only 24 responses, but it was about Chief of Staff or AC, what's the name that you want? I think Felipe hinted to,
Could you what?
Yes. Oh, AC.
Addie, I sent you the photo from Felipe, if you would like to hold it.
Sorry, Dylan. AC Welch. Ooh, 24 responses. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, so this is what we have to go off of, team.
All right, thank you. Senator Nelson?
Yeah, so we did bring this to reform 2 or 3 or maybe 4 weeks ago, but weren't able to make an agreement. But I did want to bring up something that did come up in that again, is that chief is still not really a word that I personally want in our government. And so I think there's a lot more suitable staff, or boss words that mean the person in charge of other people that we can use apart from chief. But I do think that that decision belongs in reform maybe. Or at least at a future time where we have more time to talk through all of this without however many more things are on the agenda. So just being mindful of both those things.
Yes. Senator DOC Gumajala?
Yeah, and I want to second that and really, really emphasize that because I feel that's not being taken seriously, and I think that a term that has racial connotations should not be used in government. I think that that's a really serious thing. Also, I'm going to go ahead and motion to limit this debate for another maybe 2 minutes.
Motion to limit debate for another 2 minutes, seconded by Pedro Santa. Polls are open. All those in favor, A. All those opposed, B. All those abstaining, C. To limit this debate for another 2 minutes. We are in voting procedure, so right after we're done, we can address the question. Point of personal privilege, yes. Just yell it out. No, if you have a point of personal privilege, just be point of personal privilege.
Just because we're talking about chief here, I just want to say that Native American is not a racial group. It's political entity. It's a sovereignty issue and not at all racialized. I just wanted to say that because we were saying things about race and Native Americans, and that's just, as the only enrolled student here, I felt the need to clarify that.
Thank you. Polls are now closed with everyone in favor. That passes. Debate is limited to another 2 minutes, which means we will be done at 8:06. President Becker.
Motion to previous question.
This isn't a vote.
Oh, motion to the next topic.
Yep. We don't even need to motion for that. We're just going to go for it. Okay, so next agenda item is Finance Fall 2019 Interim Funding Presentation. Presented by SGA Money.
Hello, my loves. This is our money presentation for IAC. Exciting. I know. We're thinking so far ahead. I had a hard time conceptualizing this. All right, so you want to go to the next slide? Or the vote, that's yeah, so this is the total we're looking at for pre-allocations for IAC. $17,750. It's a significant chunk of cash. Here's the breakdown. All campus events will be receiving $4,500 of that $17,750. SPC services gets $3,750, $3,000 for SPC, $750 for services. Cabinet gets $9,000, $8,250 for institutional support, $750 discretionary. Elections gets $500. Just for context, by the way, this is based entirely off of pretty much all of our previous IAC budgets. So this isn't really anything very new. And then next slide, I guess. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. This is pretty short. I just wanted to give you the breakdown. This is what we're looking at.
Thank you, BPSA-elect Anand.
Can you talk a little bit about the SPC services thing? I'm a little confused.
What are you confused about?
So what's the services budget going towards and what's the SPC budget going towards?
So SPC goes to student groups. It's the same as, for IAC, it's the same as any other budget throughout the rest of the year, where if a student group brings forth a budget, they get funded through SPC. If it's specifically a service project, that gets funded through services.
Okay, and so are those pre-allocations dedicated towards specific groups or no? Just general?
No, it's whoever comes to IAC looking for funding.
Okay.
What is institutional support? Like what does that money get spent on? What does that mean?
Quinn can probably speak more to this, honestly. As far as I know, institutional support is, as it sounds, like SGA giving money to, support, to use words directly from the phrase, to support, programs and, events for the institution. I think, we fund things for NSO, right? Yeah, so NSO programming, that kind of thing, that's what that is going towards.
Services Coordinator Tibutamwa.
Can I just say that if anyone's worried about these funds, remember that if they're not used, they just roll over into the ordinary budget.
Senator Jones.
Yeah, not that I'm concerned or, I'm just more curious. So are we spending $8,250 to support NSO? Like what other programs are there? And then also with the chunk of money that we do spend to support NSO, how much kind of sway in NSO activities do we get out of supporting that program?
So we don't directly fund NSO. This is for the SGA events that take place during NSO and outreach and things that we do when we're collaborating with larger administrative partners like Division of Student Affairs and put money towards initiatives that they're doing that SGA is collaborating with. So part of that is the SGA events during NSO. Last semester, for example, we approved money to put towards leadership. It's really whenever a part of the college proper administration wants SGA to be a part of something, but is also asking for some monetary commitment from the Student Government Association, these funds being allocated to allow SGA to have some buy-in with a partner project on campus. And so these things go to everything from, as we've been saying, NSO, to providing funds for Deanna Shorb and the food pantry or the technical blending library, or any sort of initiatives that SGA deems responsible for us to spend money on that support the student body, that are being overall coordinated at an institutional level, but are asking or are hopefully receiving support from the student body.
It had also been brought to my attention recently that there are a lot more projects that are looking for funding in the future. For instance, potentially a computer program for the entire school that Deanna Shore needs help with, like that kind of thing. That's something that seems to me like it's on the rise, and I want to make sure that we have enough money allocated to make sure that people who have great projects like that are able to get support for it.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions? All right, seeing none. A.T. Weber, SGA Money, do you have anything left to add?
Nope, that's all I got.
Alrighty, thank you very much for the presentation. We will now go on to a discussion of FOGFAS Funds donation recipient organization selection. Led by Joshua.
So I sent this out. I hope you had a chance to look at it. We have a lot of community partners, but I sent out a bunch of surveys. I asked a bunch of people. These 4 seem to be the most interesting and that garnered the most student interest. So I just want to make a vote. Vote for the one you wish to see FOGFAS donations to go to. I will go with the majority. If we have a tie, I'll just pick the 2 biggest ones and we'll just do another round of voting. Any questions?
Any questions? So you're motioning to have a vote?
Yes.
All right, and there are 4 options. There are how many clicker buttons? 5 buttons, okay. Yes. Thank you. Senator Abling.
I wanted to ask, how much funding do we have to allocate here, and what's the reasoning in sending it all to one place instead of dividing it?
So we haven't got an exact number for the meals because we had some duplicates and some invalid P-card numbers. I think we collected around 400 meals. So once they clean through and get rid of all the duplicates, I will send out an exact figure of how much we collected. Unfortunately, because of the amount that dining services gives per meal, we thought it would be more effective to send it to one location. However, I am open to any opinions on that, and if in future years we could see a program where we split it up and just sort of have a process for that, that is something we could do.
Senator Stallings.
I really think the best way to go about this, and I try to do a little bit of this on the front end, is not thinking about really perhaps the cause, because I think they're all really good causes, but rather to think about where are these places getting their resources already, and like, are they underfunded at this particular time? Is there one that's struggling more than the other? Is there any insight that you can add to that so far as like, would the money do the most good so far as like what organization would help the most?
So I can only speak based on information that I have from the CLS and just general knowledge. Planned Parenthood struggling a bit right now. It's the nature of the current government means that Planned Parenthood is going through a lot of stuff. Hospice is less needy, at least currently, based on the fact that they receive a lot of donations currently from the community. CIS, I cannot speak to with authority, and the Iowa Juvenile Home, I also do not have much information on that. In terms of their funding, I know a lot about their mission and like in talks with the CLS people what they do, but they just did not make it clear to me how they get their funding.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions? Senator De Vega.
Hi, so as somebody that tabled for FOGFest, I can say, and personally as well, that the point of how much is donated for each meal was a big question that came up in the student body. So I was wondering if we could get maybe a ballpark estimate, maybe a lower range and a higher range for how much you think that the donation is, just because it's very much a point of curiosity.
So let me just do this guy. So we have around 3.5 per student, like per meal. Each student's only allowed to donate a single meal. If we are positive that we get at least 350 meals out, that will be about $1,225.
Senator Dotymead.
So dining gear per meal, $3.50,
Yes.
even though a meal costs $16, $18. Okay, cool.
Yes, if you want to discuss that amount with me later, please do.
Senator Jones? Or Senator Eberling? Okay, Senator Stallings?
This is just a cause for concern, but a quick Google for Iowa Juvenile Home led me to the Wikipedia page, and it says that it closed in 2014. Okay, awesome. Making sure. Okay, just wanted to make sure that that was not going to be the issue.
Clarification, it is open? Yes, okay. It is up and running. Treasurer Ercolani?
Moser J, M-O-S-E-R-J @grinnell.edu is the Director of Dining Services email address. They also have a public-facing email address that's been in a couple of student campus memos. Feel free to contact them with your deep dissatisfaction over the limited amount of funds that students are donating that actually go towards the thing that students think they're donating it towards.
Moser J @grinnell.edu. Services Coordinator to the Tamwa.
However, I implore you to be respectful. It's somewhat difficult to get dining hall to collaborate with us on this. Most of the funds they get are sort of sunk costs, and while I agree that 3.5 is a bit of a stretch, I would rather have that than nothing at all. So please just be diplomatic in your language and when you're explaining why this figure is unsatisfactory.
Thank you. Green Fund Chair Snodgrass.
Just to give them like the benefit of the doubt, I was wondering if they'd give me any sort of rationale as to why it's only $3.50.
Yes, so a lot of it seems to come from the overhead that comes from running dining services. Like all the funds are collected at the beginning of semester, and a lot of it is sunk cost. So they're sort of taking money off of their profits, off of the money that they actually have to spend, as opposed to the money they've already spent on. Because they've already purchased most of the food, they have suppliers, they're already in contracts with the suppliers. And of course, they do not make it available to me just how much their profit is.
Are there any further comments or questions? If none, we can move into the vote in this. Okay, we're gonna do that. So how this is gonna go is that A is Planned Parenthood, B is Crisis Intervention Services, C is Iowa Juvenile Home, D is Grinnell Regional Hospice, and E is abstaining. The polls are now open. Please cast your vote for the one that you want the money to go to. We're looking for one more. All right, thank you very much. And with 11 being the most, Planned Parenthood wins. Thank you all very much. All right. All right. Agenda item number 17, which is a discussion on the end time of Student Senate, which is led by SGA Money.
Hello. So, we talked about this a while ago and then tabled it. And to be honest, I kind of forgot and then realized we need to talk about this still. So, we never voted on whether or not we wanted to implement the resolution that I brought to Senate in any institutionalized way. However, as you guys have probably noticed, we've been ending at 9:10. And personally, I think that's been really nice. So I was hoping that at this time you had all had more time to really kind of mull it over, see what you think about, you know, an end time, and then, you know, we could talk about potentially putting this in bylaws or
the Constitution or something. I think that'd be kind of cool, but it's up to y'all.
Discussion is now open. Senator Doddy-Mead?
As we kind of end around like 9 anyway, when things are like running on schedule, I wonder the point of putting it in, because I would say that, like, say if we are having an important discussion and like when we were having topics discussed before and it was extended like later, like that doesn't happen every week. And if it was like a problem when we were always overrunning, I'd like start to question why we need it in like writing to make sure that we're like capping ourselves and moving at a fast enough pace. But if that's like the natural kind of like flow of student senate, then I wonder like the point of putting it in there if that's what we're gonna do anyway, because then it just like caps us for when we need to actually make stronger decisions.
Thank you. We'll go A.T. Weber, then Senator Stallings.
So I spoke about this in my resolution and also just like during our previous discussion. I think that SGA could use some more like modeling for healthy practices in our documents preferably, but also just in the way that we do things. I think that like, it's something that I've realized from being on cabinet. Like I've loved being on cabinet, but I'm also stressed like all the time. And like, I don't know, I know that this is something that like other people feel, it's something that I've talked to a lot of people about, and I want to make sure that Senate is a space that is healthy for everyone involved. We all have work to do, you know, outside of this space, homework. We all need to sleep. I mean, everyone, in my opinion, should be like conscious of their mental health and like working on feeling good. And that was my philosophy behind this resolution. You know, even if on a regular basis we don't go past 9, I think in the moments when it seems like we're going to, it's important that we all sit down to think about whether it's really necessary or whether we could all just use a little bit of extra time to sleep, do homework, and then we can revisit whatever conversation we were having later. I think that's just always an important practice. I mean, that said, if other people don't see this as like a value that should be in our documents, then yeah, it's not worth putting in there. But this is something that I've been thinking about a lot and I think would be really valuable.
Thank you. Senator Stallings?
I also think that we've just been more conscious of how we spend our time in here since we've instituted the 9-10 thing. I think that we've moved a bit faster on generally speaking, whereas I believe before we often did not. So I think there might be some kind of correlation there between that. And the resolution as it was written does have the ability to vote, so it's not capped. So like if someone wants to extend the time, if we're having like a really important discussion and want to extend the time for 30 minutes, then if the Senate can decide to do that, then it can be done. So I think it's not a terrible thing, and I think if nothing else for the symbolism of like, yeah, let's end after 2 hours of sitting here. I think that's really important.
Senator Jones?
I love both of what you two said. And I love that we are having like a wellness thing incorporated into our documents. I'm probably in a small camp here, but I feel like I want to say it anyway. Kind of ending early feels detrimental for my wellness, just because I feel like I'm getting paid to do a job, and cutting out before necessarily everything gets resolved feels like a failure to do that job when we're getting paid for it. And like, we can possibly like start Senate earlier or like give senators more hours. And I know that's also coming from the position of privilege, and my being a senator is much different than cabinet members who already work over 20 hours, right? But I don't know, like just having like the 9-10 ending time gives me a lot of stress and anxiety, and I don't know, maybe other people feel that way, probably not, but I don't know, I just want to say that.
Thank you. We're going to go to Vega, Mendel, Stallings, and then, no. Okay, we're going to go Mendel, Stallings, Gumijella.
In response to what Senator Jones said, I understand that point, but I would kind of agree more with Senator Stallings said that I think just since you kind of implemented this idea of ending at 9-10, just trying to get more around that, I think we just have all been more conscientious about like our time. So I think just actually making this part of our bylaws would just kind of help ensure that future Senates within the next years would help continue this idea, because also within the resolution, as Senator Stallings mentioned, that it can't be voted on, be continued to change. And I think that, I understand what Senator Jones said, that it could make it more stressful, that we're trying to cramp all this stuff in. But I think if anything, that just helps us all ensure that is it really necessary that we say this next thing, and I think it'll help us to be more efficient with our time use in our conversations, and that we're not having an hour and a half long conversation about something that we can maybe actually discuss for 30 minutes, and we're all just really being more effective in our conversations.
Thank you, Senator Stallings.
Yeah, I totally hear you, Senator Jones, on that, because obviously with the time there comes this kind of idea of like we need to get everything done. I would like to think that should there be anything that remains not done, but is important, like incredibly important, then I think that we would vote in a way that makes that, like that we get it done. But if it doesn't, then there's always the following week. And I think that when it comes to prioritizing perhaps the time and like the fact that we all come to this room with like our time kind of meaning something different to each of us, depending on, like I work 7 hours before this, right? Like I want to leave, I want to go to bed, things like that. I think it's just a really good idea to kind of make it institutional and think about like only having 2 hours here. I think it makes more accessibility of the position too, just like, I don't know, I always want to know how much time am I going to spend doing this? I need to know. And I think that makes it more accessible as well. But yeah, and obviously if it doesn't work out, then we can change it again, right? But yeah.
Also, just a reminder that this is a discussion with no vote attached to it, so keep that in mind. Turnover rate for this might be different. Just want to remind everyone to be conscious of that. DOC Gumigiala.
Just a different pro to this, I think, would be something that Regina said earlier in our CAB meeting that I also am kind of pushing for is better utilizing committees and making committees maybe more of the main priority for senators, and that way if we have a limit for Senate on hours, right, that would be 2 hours out of their week, and then senators have another 2 to 4 hours for the rest of the week to do whatever they want and do the projects that they want and go to the committees that they want, and have that time to be productive outside of Senate, which I think would be a great thing.
Thank you. VPSA-elect Anand.
I just think what Declan said was very interesting, but also it's important what Amanda and Carrie and Lucas are echoing. And so I was just thinking about an interesting sort of alternative is that instead of considering a time-based restriction, we could consider a task-based restriction, to think about whether, especially considering Quinn's message in the beginning of today's Senate, if we think about restrictions on the number of items we should have on an agenda, that sort of direct our focuses, because then we can set limits on discussion topics based on time. I think that's an interesting alternative to entertain.
A.T. Weber.
So I think that's a really interesting point. My main concern with a task-based restriction is just that we spent almost 2 hours discussing one agenda topic several weeks ago. I think about that all the time. I have nightmares about it. I lie in bed at night just thinking. But that said, I do think that's a really interesting take. But I think personally I would really like to stick to a time-based restriction. I also would just like to reiterate what's been said before about this is, especially if we were to put this in the bylaws, this is a thing that can be changed. But yeah, I don't know, I think it is really important to me that we make some sort of movement toward more wellness in our documents. I think that's important. I think that I really do want to make Senate a space that is enjoyable and accessible for everyone, because it should be fun. This is a job, but it's also it's an activity that we do because we care about it. So yeah.
Thank you, Senator Aveling.
I have really appreciated the limit that has been placed on this over the past couple of weeks. I think it's worked really well. I think it's forced us to be mindful. We have added time in the past when we've needed it, so I don't think this is a restriction so much as it forces us to consider what we're doing and not spend an excessive amount of our time and energy on items that should be better discussed in committees. Also, if we're consistently running overtime, I'd like to back DSC Magiela up here and say that we should be using committees more, and we should perhaps consider expanding senator hours and in some format or other solutions rather than spending more time here, when as is, this has been working pretty well.
Thank you, Senator De Vega.
So following the nature of that comment, I just want to point out that we've spent, I think, 10 to 15 minutes talking about limiting Senate time. So just noticing that, I'm going to motion to limit this discussion to 2 more minutes.
Seconded by Senator Pietrasanta. All those in favor, just do hands. All those in favor, please pay attention. We are raising hands. All those in favor? All right, all those opposed? All those abstaining? Thank you, that passes. This is now limited to 2 more minutes, meaning we would end at 8:33. A.T. Weber.
I really appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. That makes me really happy. So I know this isn't on the agenda, but I would like to motion to vote on adding the resolution, if you all remember it, to the bylaws of the Constitution. I understand if y'all feel the need to discuss it more, but I want to take action with this. So
We have a motion to vote on this, seconded by Senator De Vega. All those in favor of voting on adding this to the bylaws, please raise your hands. Yes. Yes. Can we get the resolution up on the screen? Thank you very much. Do we have the resolution?
Oh yeah, because it's not attached to this, but if someone could just forward it, that'd be great.
We have a point of information. Point of order.
Could you clarify what the process is to add a new agenda item to what the different votes are about to be?
So right now we're voting, we're voting on whether or not we're gonna vote on this, because this is a bit more contentious than all the other things, so we're gonna get a sense of whether or not we should move with this vote. And then if it passes, then we're going to vote on, Amanda, what was it you asked?
Adding this to the bylaws.
Okay, so logistically, how would that work?
So there's language from when I first presented this in Senate that would be added to the bylaws of the Constitution. It is not in this document, it is in another document that I sent out from a previous agenda.
Okay, seeing that this is not on the agenda, are you motioning to put this on the agenda, vote on it, what are you?
Yes.
One has to come before the other.
Yeah, no, put it on the agenda, then vote.
Now or at the end?
Now.
So
Yeah, right now.
we have a motion to put this on the agenda to vote it into adding it into the bylaws right now. We're gonna open up the polls for that vote. If that passes, then we will vote on whether or not this gets added to the agenda. Thank you for the clarification. I think myself and a few others were confused about what that was. So once again, this is a vote on basically whether or not, no, this is a vote to add it to the agenda and vote on it. We are looking for 17. They're gonna close at 25. Ooh, maybe we'll have to increase that. Looking for 3 more. Could everyone please click? All right, polls are closed. 14 in favor, 1 opposition. That passes. So this vote is now on the table. Senator De Vega.
Point of information. information for people that might have the same confusion. I remember at the beginning of the conversation, we talked about how nice it is to end at 9:10, so that kind of led with the notion that we are going for 2-hour senates. But I see the language in this, I think I understand it, but I'm just trying to get a sense. It says limited to an hour and a half, so if we were to start at 7:10, you would be ending at 8:40. And then that can be lengthened by 30 minutes to end at 9:10, is that correct?
Yeah, so this is an outdated document. No, Carrie, it's fine, thank you for getting this up. It is 2 hours. This is from when, like, I was originally drafting the document. Yeah, no, it's 2 hours. The half hour, everything else is the same, but I changed that one thing.
All right, so basically what we're looking for now is a motion to vote on this, because that's what we're talking about. AC Welch, motion to previous question, seconded by Senator Stallings. Okay, the polls are now, Reform Committee Chair Monteforte.
Just one thing, it's not a bylaw change, it's a change in the Constitution. So, and if I'm not wrong, we had changed it from 2/3 to a half of the, no, 2/3. Sure. But it's a constitutional change in theory because, okay, whatever. So whatever we vote here, it has to be voted by the student body afterwards.
All right, this is getting really messy. Treasurer Ercolani.
To be clear, as written and as presented, this is neither a change to the Constitution or the bylaws. This is merely the passage of a binding resolution, which holds us to a specific rule of order, which would be to have those two resolved points in practice. However, it does not actually change the language in our governing documents. To be clear.
Okay, so those were points of information. We're still in the voting procedure. We're voting to abide by having Senate end after 2 hours. The polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. And this is once again to have Senate be 2 hours. Looking for 2 more. If everyone could please click. Please guys, just click the damn clickers. Like, we've been doing this for a minute now. We should be at 17. If not, the polls are now closed. And with 13 in favor and 2 opposed, that passes. Thank you for the clarifications. Just for future and for the sake of all that we have yet to do, I encourage, just keeping to the agenda. Now we have agenda item number 18, which is a confirmation of Rachel Snodgrass as Green Fund co-chair for the fall 2019 term. Treasurer Ercolani.
Really quickly to slightly amend the phrasing that is on agenda points 18 and 19. Due to the resolution that was passed earlier this session of Senate, this is technically the confirmation of those 2 individuals as the environmental sustainability coordinator for this terms as specified. Just so everyone is clear. There was a little bit of misinformation that went around in terms of there was a change in the way that the position is being titled, and that takes immediate effect. However, the position is not at all becoming a cabinet position until there would be that would cause a reevaluation of the process and standards. But because it was just a name change and a response and fleshing out the responsibilities rather than a fundamental change to the way the position has historically been operating, yes.
Thank you. So this is a confirmation led by A.T. Weber.
Hi. So, as you might know, Rachel has served as the Green Fund co-chair for this semester. She has done a wonderful job. She's been highly invested in the position, highly motivated, and has just demonstrated a lot of, passion and caring for sustainability on campus. So because of that, it made complete sense for us to nominate her to be appointed for the fall of next year. And we're really looking forward to having her back should her nomination pass.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this confirmation? Seeing none, I ask that Rachel, you step out while we begin the confirmation process. Are there any questions with the candidate not present in the room? AC Welch?
Motion to previous question.
Seconded by Senator Mendel. The polls are open. This is to confirm Rachel Snodgrass as the Green Fund co-chair for the fall 2019 term. All right, the polls are now closed. And with 15 in favor and 1 abstention, that confirmation passes. So Rachel can come back into the room. Congratulations. All right, now we can move on to the confirmation of Katie Meltretter as Green Fund co-chair for the spring 2019 term, led by A.T. Weber.
Okay, so Katie applied to be the Green Fund co-chair, and I conducted her interview, and she did a really wonderful job. She has a lot of experience with non-SGA sustainability efforts, which I think will lend a valuable perspective as well to Green Fund, and just seemed really excited to be involved with Green Fund and the position. So we would like to nominate her for the spring term.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions regarding this confirmation? Seeing none, I ask that she is not here. Okay, so we're going to move right into the voting procedure for this confirmation. Senator Stallings? Looking for 17 once again. Just looking for one more. Okay, the polls are closed. We reached 17, cool. And with 16 in favor and 1 abstention, that confirmation passes. Thank you very much. Next, we have the confirmation of Destiny Magnet as election board chair for the 2019-2020 academic year. President-elect Logan.
Yeah, so I worked with Destiny on first year council, and she's expressed interest in getting more involved with SGA, and ever since I met her on first year council, she's just stood out to me as someone who is incredibly on top of her work, super organized, incredibly just on the ball and engaged with student life here. I think she's gonna bring a level of just, intention to the election board chair position that I'm really excited about, and I'm really happy to nominate her.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions regarding this nomination? Seeing none, we can now move right into the confirmation procedure with the polls being open now. That was so quick. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining for the confirmation of election board chair. I'm going to close them at 20 seconds. We are just looking for 2 more. One more. Yeah. Okay. And with all in favor, that confirmation passes. Thank you. Next, we will go on to the confirmation of Tess Kerhoff as the President of the Senate for the next academic year. President-elect Logan.
So Tess has been a CA where she's gained a lot of experience, mediating conversations between people. She has experience using Robert's rules, And overall, just in her interview, I was really impressed by the way that she conducted herself. I think that that speaks most to, you know, what we were looking for in a president of the Senate, just how they kind of appeared in front of a group of people. And I'm incredibly confident in her ability to stick to Robert's rules and command the room in a way that is going to be really effective next year.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Senator De Vega? Okay, are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, Tess, I ask that you leave the room as we continue with the confirmation process. Now that the candidate is out of the room, does anyone have any further comments or questions? No? All right. Polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. Looking for one more. Can we get it in under 10 seconds? 6, 7, 8. Please, someone click the clicker. Yes! Okay, and with all in favor, that passes. Congratulations. All right, agenda item number 22, the confirmation of Vidush Goswami as the TA for the next academic year. President-elect Logan.
Yep, Vidush has been involved with tech committee, came to the interview just really excited about interacting with students and learning more about how students are interacting with technology and being able to help them with their problems. Good at tech stuff. I'm incredibly incompetent at anything technology, so if you have any more detailed questions about his qualifications, Addy was also in our interview, so he might be able to give a little more insight, but me being incredibly technologically challenged, I feel really confident in him guiding us through next year.
Any questions? President Becker?
Awesome. Hello, Vidush. Yeah, so do you have any, I just want to hear briefly about your plans for the role for next year. I think I'm kind of personally and emotionally invested in this role, given that I think it's changed greatly over the last 3 years that Addy and I have had it. And I just want to kind of see your intentions for the scope of the role, increasing that scope, and any ways you plan to interact as a liaison between ITS and the student body.
Thank you for the question, Miles. I basically plan to increase awareness about the role because a lot of people don't even know that the TA exists, that the role exists, and also just a lot of the questions that we had in tech committee are questions that a lot of people raise around campus. Like, for example, people post about the Wi-Fi and Grinnell thumbs down, why is it so bad? That's actually something we brought up in tech committee, and a lot of other problems we address. But I feel like if you could connect those solutions that we come up with in tech committee and when we have our meetings with ITS, or we learn about them with the CIO, if you could bring them to the student community, like the larger community, I feel that would be something I can do. Also having some sort of dining services representation on tech committee, because I know there is a designated tech person in dining services who's like a college employee, so I feel like they could also provide interesting insight into tech committee, yeah.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, I ask that Senator Goswami, you step out of the room as the polls are not open yet, Carlos. All right, now the polls are open. Wait, no, they're not. Any last lingering questions or comments or concerns? President Becker.
Vidush's response had me really excited. I think in my discussions with previous cabinet about this position in the 2 years that I held it, there was a lot of discussion over whether or not the scope of the role had increased because what was me working and eventually escalating my involvement in student government to becoming president, what was actually the role. And I think Addy's done a fantastic job of increasing and maintaining the stuff that Tech Committee and the Tech Advisor did in the 2 years prior, and I'm really excited for Vidush's nomination and the future of this role in SGA.
Shout out to Addy for doing a great job this year. Always getting the clickers. Always coming through. All right, any last thoughts, feelings, questions, concerns? Yes, no? All right, polls are now open, and this is to confirm Vidush Goswami as the next TA. Super quick. Let's get up before 10 again. One more. Please, let's go. Oh my God, okay. Okay, wow. With all those in favor, that confirmation passes. Congratulations. All right, now we have the presentation of the SGA Awards.
Hey team, so we've got a few awards to give out for some SGA members who did stellar jobs this year. I just want to say that I think you've all done really great jobs, and I have loved working with you so much, especially the senators who I've worked closely with. You've made this semester really great, and I love you all. So this award goes to, it's the Rising Star Award. It goes out to a first-year member of SGA who's shown promise and who we're excited to see do great work for the organization in the future. From the moment this senator began his term, he demonstrated initiative by seeking out projects and seeing them through to completion. He's been an active member of Dining Committee, providing frequent updates to Senate with his fellow cluster representative, who, in my opinion, has been a great mentor to him this semester. He and Senator Collinger also identified a path forward during our constitutional crisis earlier in the semester, and they worked together to draft an amendment, create a petition, inform voters, and see the entire amendment process through. He's begun work with Senators Collinger and Dottomate on addressing food insecurity for students who stay in Grinnell over breaks, and we're sure he'll identify and enact a plan to meet that need too as part of that team. Ashton Aveling has accomplished a lot in his first semester as senator in his first year at Grinnell, and we're excited to see all he'll accomplish as a member of SGA in the future. Congrats, Ashton.
Okay, so the next award we're giving out is the Brandon Martinez Award. The Brandon Martinez Award is dedicated to the memory of Brandon Martinez, a member of the Grinnell community who embodied dedication to the principles of self-governance. So when we were going through the process of nominating people for this award, the first person who jumped into my mind was someone who I thought really embodied these principles of passion for serving the community, especially the Grinnell community, of making really positive changes to the way that we work as an organization, and someone who I thought really cared and demonstrated that in a way that I had rarely seen in most other students on this campus. So I would like to call forth Felipe Monteforte to receive this award for his service to us.
We just have one more. The Chris Haid Memorial Award is dedicated to the memory of Chris Haid, who was to graduate in May 2009 with a major in political science. Chris adored Grinnell, devoting himself to its improvement through the Student Government Association. As a senator, Chris specialized in issues of residential life, safety, and security, but eagerly served SGA in every capacity he could, often contributing to institutional and constitutional reform. Chris succumbed to a rare form of cancer on November 21st, 2008, was loved by many, and will be sorely missed. Each year, the Cabinet shall be responsible for conferring the Chris Haid Memorial Award to a non-Cabinet member of SGA committees or a senator of Student Senate for outstanding service to the Student Government Association. This year, the Cabinet has selected Moosehead Senator Declan Jones to be the recipient of the Chris Haid Memorial Award. This past year as Senator, Declan has shown a commitment and passion for student government that we have all benefited from one way or another. His service on multiple committees, his contributions to Senate, and his outstanding leadership all made Declan a perfect candidate for this award. For the entire year and even before being elected, Declan has consistently brought new and thoughtful ideas to SGA, your first year council, reform committee, outreach committee, and Senate. Every cabinet member knows the value of Declan's service to SGA. Senators know the consideration and passion he brings here every week. His constituents are blessed with his thorough and informative mini-minutes, and his friends know his kindness and support, and all students at Grinnell are better off with Declan as a champion. For this, we are proud to honor the memory of Chris Haid by conferring this award to Senator Jones.
Now on to the cabinet reports. AC Welch.
Hello, this is my last report at my last Senate. This is very weird for me. I just want to thank you all for all the work that you've done this year. This has been like a particularly great SGA to be a part of. And there are a lot of really bright, passionate, talented underclass people, and I think you're going to be super great in the future.
DOC Gumajala.
We love you too, Dylan. Thank you for everything you do.
Treasurer Okalani. Let's get a mic to Quinn.
Yeah, so how was that Deans and Directors meeting?
Thank you for asking. I think that just the big thing I want to share from it was the lighting committee led by Ben Newhouse and Khadijah have started to go around campus at night and like assess dark parts of campus that could be better lit, and so they're like currently doing that work. They've been doing that work. They've like found all these parts of campus. I think a few that stuck out were like areas by that like parking lot near Mears, the walkway between like Burling and Noyce, particularly dark parts of campus. So yeah, they're getting started on that and looking forward to better lighting.
All right, thank you, AC Welch. DOC Gumajala. Nothing to add. Any questions? Thanks. Senator Stallings.
Yes, hi, sorry. I can't find the language, but you were talking about the project, the before and after. I just want to hear about that.
Oh yeah, this was just like a cute, fun, wholesome thing that Outreach Committee kind of came up with to kind of promote different positions and the cool things that people did in SGA this year, because I know that there's been a lot of tension this year and people were upset and things. So, but I also know that a lot of great hard work has been done, and like there have been so many cool accomplishments that people have achieved, and I wanted to promote those. So if anyone wants to, like, is particularly like excited about a project that they did or something, like, let me know, and we're just gonna post about it on like the social media pages, and just like, it'll be fun.
Thank you. Any further things? Seeing none, thank you, DOC Gumajala. Treasurer Ercolani? Nothing to add. Any questions? No questions? Okay. AT Weber.
I'm sorry, I failed y'all. I need to do an oral report. It has been, pardon my French, a crazy ass week. Trustees were in town, that was cool. Made a lot of purchases. I am up to my eyes in receipts, as Oscar will also tell you. And all of these are good things, it's so exciting. I'm like, I'm not slowing down before the end of the year. We are gonna like just burn right through it. So that I'm looking forward to that. But yeah,
if you guys like, because there's just a lot going on, if there's anything that you know of that needs urgent money attention, just like send me an email, and I will take care of it as soon as possible. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, A.T. Weber. Vipa Murphy?
First thing, please send that link out to your constituents. That would make me very happy to get art for the Grinnell Undergraduate Research Journal. The second thing, I'm sure people have questions about the Associate Director and Assistant Director of Student Activities positions. Two things about that. One is that they've actually renamed it to, I can't remember exactly what, but it starts with an I instead of activities, so it can no longer be shortened to the SAD. Second thing is the assistant director position is going to be taking over the role of what RLCs are currently doing, because RLCs are going to be doing more things in the semesters because of the new first year experience course that they will be leading. And so it's essentially just having it be the role of RLCs doing like CA event stuff will be taken over by this position. It's being paid for out of the strategic reserve from like President Kington's office. So that will not be taken from our budget. Also, just want to take a moment to shout out Siamla and Erica for finishing out a year in these positions. I know this is something that we already talked about a lot. But amazing work to both of them, so thanks guys.
Diosigo Magella? We love you, Riley. Thank you for everything you do. All right, thank you. President Becker?
I'm going to read this whole thing out loud.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Yeah, the big thing was these are just my thoughts for next year. I think there are like a lot of ways this organization can improve. I think this cabinet and the Senate and the previous Senate did a lot of work to make those steps. I think there's still a lot of work to do, so I just wanted to say those. Additionally, shout out to Josh for getting the DSA award. No, that was great. Yeah, there was board stuff, and then, yeah, I don't know if anyone, like the kind of formatting of my thoughts didn't really make it into the agenda. If anyone wants to see them like kind of like tabbed and spaced and whatnot, I can send it to them, but like, these were effectively just my thoughts on how SGA can move forward. I think like, there were a lot of resolutions I wanted to write this year that I just didn't have time. I think like, the kind of day-to-day stuff kind of like subsumes the president position. I think like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here, but like, I know I mentioned earlier that I would talk about like stipend, and I think that whole system needs to be revamped. I think SGA needs to provide more institutional support towards the stipend position and its goals. I think it's a great way to kind of gauge student opinion on certain initiatives, but I think it needs support in being able to follow through on those. I think like we've not been able to do that to the best of our abilities in the last 2 years that I've been a part of it. But yeah, no, I think SGA is making leaps in the right direction, and I think we should keep on that path, and I implore anyone who's going to be involved next year to review these are my thoughts. There are also just a bunch of resolutions I submitted to reform this week that didn't make it here tonight because they weren't super important. I didn't want to load this agenda any further, but I'll leave those for reform to tackle next year as well as these thoughts. But yeah.
Thank you. This is a very detailed cabinet report, so if anyone has any questions, please speak now, but then also reach out to Miles after Senate. Senator Abele. Mike Mobile is on the move to Ashton. Or not. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. I just had something really quick. I wanted to ask a bunch of questions about this, but we don't have time left. So the thing that stuck out to me the most is, can you clarify the meaning of cabinet emeriti, however you pronounce that? How would that work?
Yeah, so this is one that came up, and the executives had a chance to interview for the replacements for Dean Latham. The many other SGAs and student governments across the country have a calendar year instead of the academic year. This is something that I've discussed at length with current cabinet, and I think would kind of resolve a lot of issues that we currently recognize. I think like the executives usually, and cabinet in particular, really kind of lose your second semester senior year and your ability to really focus on next steps beyond Grinnell because you're just like kind of completely committed to the bettering of student life here in Grinnell. And so I think that was one of the ideas. Essentially, so if we extend my presidency, it would have started in January of my third year and then concluded last December. So this means that I would have still been on campus in the second semester, in my spring semester of my senior year, but I would not be holding that position. So then Regina would have assumed the role in January and then held it until December. I think there are a lot of reasons why this would have been good. I think like we had a change in the treasurer position at the beginning of the year, and Quinn hadn't had a year of training. If that had happened under this, we would have had Zach Steckel on as a, it's supposed to be a cabinet emeriti, I think if my autocorrect messed me up. But Zach Steckel would have been around to train him for another semester. We had vacancies this semester that wouldn't have worked for. But I also think that like summer work would have become like much more efficacious if like you had a semester in the role then said, you know, here are the things that I know that I can do over the summer, come back in the fall and then keep working on those things. So I think, and this would also allow for people to go abroad in the fall semester of their third year and then take the role in the spring. That was kind of one of the initial areas that this came about. So I think this solves a lot of issues. But I think would be a really interesting change to our organization. I think it's something that's benefited many other institutions across the country. I think in particular, you know, like, I mean, I've loved every moment that I've had in this role, but I think like, if I could have had this last semester kind of enjoy my final moments at Grinnell as a Grinnellian and less as in my service as the president, I think that would have also been quite nice. But you could have also been like a senator in your final semester, keep your voice involved in student government. Yeah, so I had a lot of thoughts on this, but I left this here. It's something to consider, especially with SGA's kind of excess funds that we have right now. We could sponsor a year of having like 2 presidents for a semester to overlap so no one loses out on the time. But yeah, but this is kind of a complicated logistical issue, but something that I think would be worth considering in reform as long as we're looking at how to make the most robust student movement.
Thank you.
Reminder, we have 4 minutes left. Any other questions? President Becker?
I have office hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 2 in my office. I'm not always there. I oftentimes have to schedule meetings during that. But like, if you have any questions about this, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm very responsive. Set up set up a meeting time. Yeah.
Thank you. If there's nothing else to add, we can now move on to, VPSA Tombu and Bell Murphy.
Khadija wanted me to tell you all, sorry she can't make it, she has a religious obligation, but 2 things that the administration has been alerted about the staffing issues in dining services. She's talked to the trustees about it and we'll be meeting with Angela Voos. And she also has been meeting with Deanna Shorp to talk about hiring a student for helping with the food pantry and the lending library. And those are the 2 things she's been working on and she will be continuing to work on.
Thank you. Constance Chair Christensen is also not here, so we can now move on to Services Chair Tipitamua.
Fog Fest. It's here. Nothing to add.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, Ace Chair Satchel. Can we get a mic to Erica?
Okay, so lots was yesterday. That was the biggest thing I'm doing this week, planning that, getting that together. Yeah, it was successful. It was food, photo booth, everything. Yeah, that's it.
Any comments or questions? All right, seeing none. Agenda item number 25, adjourning motion by Senator Solis and seconded by Senator Pietrasanta. All those in favor say A. All those say nay. Abstaining, don't say anything. Thank you all for a semester of great engagement. Please have a good rest of your year.